I guess the reason why we're here right now is because you called me out on Twitter a little while ago at the beginning of May, Kayla Maupin. You said a lot of really weird stuff, and it made me feel like we had some pretty substantial disagreements. Stuff like you kept saying like shame, like saying that I say all Tankies are fascists or what have you, claiming that like I'm spitting on the legacy of the Black Panther Party or of other people who were revolutionary socialists in their time, telling me, like shame. You said shame quite a bit, which felt like I was kind of being like scolded by like a school teacher or something. But yeah, I guess I was a little bit confused by your intentionality there. I'd be interested in seeing if we could arrive at an amicable resolution. Okay, that's all I have to say.
All right. Shall I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Vaush, we may not agree on a lot, but one thing I think we can agree on is that socialism is when the means of production are organized by the state, and that I think that portraying Tankies as if they are fascists or as if they are the equivalent of white supremacists is a big blunder. And this kind of Tankie baiting has been a threat to the entire progressive movement. That's where I'm at, Vaush. Let's talk.
Yeah, first of all, with regards to, so your ultimate argument is one against gatekeeping, effectively, that there's ultimate harm done to the movement when you engage in any action to distinguish the broader, the right-left from the parts of it that you want to excise. Unfortunately, excising undesirables from your movement is, I think you as a fan of the USSR would probably know, basically a necessary part of any revolutionary activity. With regards to the Tankies that are referred to, for example, I'm not referring to people who, for example, are at any point not as critical of the USSR as I am, or people who see value in some of the revolutionary movements in the developing world. I think these are perfectly fine things. I'm talking about people who aggressively engage in optics, which are antithetical to the things that I believe in. I'm denouncing them because they are my enemy, and because they make us look bad. So, for example, while these people are by no means the majority, there are Tankies who defend Stalin. He was not a good man, and he did not do good for the movement. He just isn't a good person to hinge public representation on. My issue here is that I think we're blurring the lines between people who have minor ideological differences but a shared goal, and people who do not share a goal with me. May I ask one question to clarify? Do you consider the modern day state of China to be a proletarian state?
Yes. Yes, I do. Okay. And I think it has a lot of problems, and I think that there are many things about it that are corrupt, but the fact that they have maintained, an economy where the means of production are organized by the state and raised 800 million people out of poverty, I think is a positive thing. I can't get behind the idea that China is a proletarian state. I mean, they have just a rabid market economy. The only difference is that it's all like broadly organized under a state apparatus, but that doesn't really lend towards the individual power of the worker. I don't agree with you about how you characterize state capitalism. I think state capitalism is Saudi Arabia.
You're not
Saudi
a socialist.
Arabia, yes, I'm sorry, may I finish my point?
Sorry, my apologies.
Corporations that have been caught polluting, they're forced to get on national television and apologize to the country in exchange for a shorter prison sentence. The capitalists of China live in terror.
Do you know what the term is for the private market being rolled into state authority?
China, the government controls the corporations. In the United States, the corporations control the government. Very different situation.
Do you know what the technical term is for an economy where the private sector is rolled into the authority of the state? It's fascism. We're talking about, we're talking about fascism. The only thing you've been able to praise about the Chinese government is that they elevated.
I thought you didn't equate communists with fascists, so now you do.
Well, wait, of course, because you're not a communist and China is not a communist country. So this is just me calling a fascist defender a fascist. Yeah, you're literally just defending China. Whoa, you're literally just defending.
Let's try not to talk over each other.
You're just defending China on the.
Let him finish.
You're just defending China on the premise of its authoritarianism. That's it. Do you think like the workers are in charge of the Chinese Communist Party? Like, do they vote?
So, I mean, as far as the Uyghur stuff, is China doing wrong things in those regions? Possibly. But you'll have to remember that so many of the things that have been going around on social media about that have been debunked. I mean, there was a video going around purporting to show police beating up a man for owning the Quran. It turns out it was from Indonesia. CNN.
Do we really want to go down this road?
I'm sorry. May I not be interrupted, please?
Okay, you do. All right.
And our media is trying to demonize countries. They often say things that are not true. And that's just the reality. So I'm suspicious of some of that. Now, the social credit system.
So I noticed that you completely ignored the is the Chinese Communist Party democratically controlled by the workers question. That's okay. We both know the answer. I love that your denial of the Uyghur Holocaust right now because it's
didn't deny anything.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
There are flaws
Denial.
in the official narrative. You're trying to.
Oh, I know flaws in the narrative.
I know what you're doing. I
flaws
didn't
in the
deny anything.
Oh, I've heard that before too. Hey, did you know that when the Soviet Union originally arrived at the Auschwitz-Birkenau camp, the plaque that they
right. Whoa,
slow down there, Maupin.
Okay, all
did you
right.
wait?
Okay.
Hey,
continue. Right?
Did you know that the plaque that they originally posted suggested that 6 million died there, when in reality the updated number later said 1.47 million? Did you know that there was an order for a metal door that went to a camp that didn't actually have any door frames that could fit it? Seems almost like it might have been bought by another group trying to incriminate that. Oh, wait. I'm not saying that the Nazis didn't do anything, mind you. I'm just saying that there is undeniably a lot of war propaganda following, the World War II that we should probably examine critically before we, fully address any of the accusations here. Dude, you literally are doing this just because there are a couple. Just because, you're questioning the official narrative.
And you started this by saying you don't equate people like me with Nazis.
Wait. No. I don't equate all.
Everyone sees how.
Wait. I don't equate all Tankies to Nazis.
The Holocaust is one of the most well-documented events.
Can you let me
in
finish?
History. And at the time that it happened, mainstream media in the United States
were the ones
downplaying it. It was mainstream media that was downplaying it, and it was leftists like myself that raised the alarm about fascism.
So
it was communists and socialists raised the alarm and said Hitler is killing people. While people like you, people that hate communists, people that hate the Soviet Union, they were the ones downplaying the crimes.
Dude, you don't give a fuck about communism.
Completely being facetious.
Okay, but that's okay. We can back up a little bit here. Okay, so I know you're not denying the Uyghur Muslim genocide. Wow, he actually. Hey, can I appeal to the moderator here?
All right, let's give Vaush the floor.
And it was about the fact that while leftists and socialists were raising the alarm about the crimes of fascism, mainstream media was ignoring it because they hated communists, because they preached hatred for the Soviet Union. And he wrote Horton Hears a Who to talk about Republican Spain and how the people, the republic was being crushed, fascists were murdering people, and the world sat back and did nothing. It was leftists, it was Tankies who raised the alarm about fascism's crimes. Yeah, you're just completely mischaracterizing it. Mainstream media was downplaying the crimes of Hitler.
Let's give Vaush the floor for a minute.
Yeah, okay. So, as I was saying, you're not denying the Uyghur genocide. You're just taking a couple of misplaced, like factoids that turned out to be incorrect.
Saying we don't have all the facts about what's going on in China
my dude!
are suspicious of mainstream media. And the fact that you would equate me with people who deny one of the most well-documented events in world history is absolutely despicable, and I don't want to continue this line of discussion.
Wait. I can't just let you engage in genocide denialism and then walk away from it.
You've made false comparisons between me. Everyone's heard you. I'm done talking about this.
Yeah, let's just. Hey, it's okay. Hey, it's okay. Okay, my apologies.
Move on, please.
My apologies. Okay. I'll be nicer, but I do have to finish this one point. Okay, so often when defending an authoritarian regime against a genocide accusation, it's more optically and rhetorically efficacious not to outright deny its existence, but rather to draw up some questions like, hey, there is a lot of propaganda here. Maybe possibly there are some state actors who have, and then by doing that, you introduce the seeds of doubt that allow other people to then engage in outright denial. Now, I feel comfortable in making that comparison here because as Nazi Germany was a fascist society that engaged in a genocide, by every reasonable economic definition, China is also a fascist society currently engaging in a genocide. Though the societies are not exactly the same, there are many, many differences between the two. When we talk about a top-down, authoritarian, xenophobic, ethno-state-like society that imposes state's will on the people, but then promises that the glory of the people will be brought about by the sovereignty and the power of the authoritarian unelected state, I think a little bit maybe, and that's kind of the argument that you've made as well, my dude. You haven't really made any arguments about the autonomy of the worker or the abolition of the commodity form. Every word out of your mouth to defend China has been defending authoritarianism, which makes me think you're not really a socialist.
Have me arrested, have me shot.
Okay, I mean, I don't need to have you shot. This isn't China, so that's not how we respond to political dissidents. But yeah, that's insane.
Everyone knows you're dog whistling to anarchists and Antifa to be violent. You are calling for violence. What? You would have had Nelson Mandela beaten up by Antifa.
What?
You would have had Albert Einstein punched in the face. You equate people that defend socialist countries and question the lies about them in media with Nazis. That's what you're doing here. You're doing that to me.
This is like when I argue with fascists and they're like, you want to kill all white people.
That spit on civil rights marchers because they were part of the Communist Party.
Well,
that's what you're doing.
So my criticism at you,
a Tankie organization, William L. Patterson, Henry Winston, great heroic organizers who fought for civil rights.
My criticism of you is that you've engaged in genocide denialism.
Stalin. You equate them with Nazis. You want violence against such people.
No. Just you. No, my dude. They're not all as bad as you. Just you. You're the one doing the genocide denialism. Nelson Mandela didn't do that.
Great American poet. He signed an ad defending the Moscow trials and defending the purges in 1938.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Is that the right thing to do? Maybe not. That doesn't make him a Nazi.
I didn't say he's a Nazi. Did he engage in genocide denial? Why are you conflating all these different things?
I'm pointing out that you are painting people with a broad brush. You're painting all differentiation with the U.S. media on international foreign policy.
No, I'm saying
you against
China
or Russia or other countries. You're equating all of that with the most despicable far-right human beings. And
Can you stop defending fascist governments against claims of genocide then?
About this. I'm not going to change your mind.
Sure, okay. I just declare, and I'm not going to repeat my accusations so we can actually move on from this point. I'm just going.
I think we're hitting that hour mark. Do we want to do our closing statements?
All right. Yeah, you can give your closing statement first. How about that?
Actually, I think you went first in the opening. Do you want to go first?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, so I don't mean to make this like a criticism of people's personalities or anything like that. There is a persistent effort on your part to paint me as some kind of radical anti-communist. Funny, because you're the one who has failed to defend any aspect of actual worker ownership or commodity form abolition over the course of this discussion. You have painted me as somebody who is in favor of war between America and China, which is patently false. You have painted me as a McCarthyite for wanting China to be more socialist. And you have painted me as somebody who just blithely accuses everyone of being a Nazi, which isn't true. You are the one who got to the genocide denial all on your own. I did not lead you there. You walked there on your own. So my main issue is like, yeah, I think people like you are a literal fucking toxin, not only to socialism, but to the workers of this country. I don't think you give a fuck about them, their well-being, their autonomy, their freedom, their alienation from the means of production. I think you give a fuck about some little personality cult you're trying to build while working in tandem with other non-communist states that just happen to dislike America. And I would like to remind that you and everyone else who is listening right now that hating America, while based, is not an ideology. And that if you want to be a real socialist, you're going to have to substantiate yourself a little bit more than that. Funny that you're the person who assigns, I suppose, the Tankie label to himself, yet I am the one who seems to have a greater understanding of the actual definition of socialism and how it should be applied. Plus you're white. All right. The idea that, I'm making socialism look bad by denouncing Stalin, but him going well, I don't know if there's a genocide. People do lie. What the American people want is authoritarianism for the worker. That's not making socialism look bad? Okay, my dude. Anyway, yeah, that went probably about as good as I expected it to. Imagine being Caleb Maupin and trying to come on as a good representative of Tankies. That guy was worse than AJW, holy shit. Yeah, but it feels better because I know that I actually get under Maupin's skin because I'm an actual socialist. I love it. Ah, God, I love being called a radlib by people who are like, well, socialism is actually when the government runs stuff. Dude, that's literally that's like an 8th grader's understanding of, oh yeah, capitalism is when the people own it and socialism is when the government own it. And I'm like, no, actually it has to do with collective ownership and the abolition of the And Caleb Maupin's like, yeah, the government just needs to own it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's socialism. Jesus. Oh, God. And he went right into the fucking genocide denial, too. Holy shit. He actually... Guys, do you all understand the Red-Brown Alliance now when I talk about it? Do you understand? That guy's rhetoric was literally identical to that of a neo-Nazis on every level. The power of the state elevates the individual. Everyone has freedom within the glory of the state. Oh, there's a genocide happening? I don't know. You're calling me a Nazi, which means you hate all socialist people or whatever. Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about theory or anything like that. Most Nazis were former Tankies. Yeah, Count Dankula still has a hammer and sickle tattooed somewhere on him. Yeah, a strong authoritarian government to cut through bureaucracy. He's literally defending fascism. He's literally this is just fascism with red flags.
simply hate America. I'm motivated by a hatred of the country that I grew up in. I simply hate America. I'm motivated by a hatred of the country that I grew up in. I simply hate America. I'm motivated by a hatred of the country that I grew up in. I simply hate America. I'm motivated by a hatred of the country.